It's game week for some in the Big Ten Conference, and for others, the season is that much closer, including for the Iowa Hawkeyes. We take a look back at the closed scrimmage that occurred inside Kinnick Stadium this past Saturday, including some tidbits that we've uncovered from that event, plus an exclusive interview with Iowa basketball forward Filip Rebraca. He talks about his development heading into his final season in Iowa City, plus what are we to expect from Riley Mulvey, Josh Agundale, Tony Perkins, and a team that will look a lot different without Keegan Murray? All that coming up during week 200 of Brada's Branded Thoughts. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Hawkeye fans, let's talk about health and performance optimization for a moment. Our sponsor, Ascent Nutrition, offers amazing products. It's actually owned by former Iowa graduate Lance Shuttler. Now, I've decided to partner with Ascent Nutrition because of their unique approach to human health. Ascent offers an organically grown, mold and mycotoxin-free coffee. It provides a pure, clean, and rich flavor without those pesticides that most coffees are treated with. They also offer an algae oil DHA, which is used to support brain health, memory, and focus, as well as proper nervous system development in adults, children, athletes, and even pets. Now, lastly, their unique crafted wild pine pollen is used to support cardiovascular health, hormonal function, and a healthy libido. Your purchase not only supports this channel, but the business of a former Hawkeye. Visit goascentnutrition.com or click the link in the description below and use the code Hawkeyes. That's the code Hawkeyes to receive 10% off your total order from Ascent Nutrition. Week 200 of Brada's Branded Thoughts here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, talking about, as you well know, Iowa football right around the corner. And we're no longer just saying that. It's right around the corner. We're recording this on August 23rd, just a few days before the first Big Ten game of the season. Of course, we know that's over in Ireland. Nebraska and the Northwestern Wildcats should be a fun one. Scott Frost with a lot more pressure than Pat Fitzgerald. And the Wildcats something to prove after being decimated by the Huskers last year. And we know Illinois is also in action against the Cowboys of Wyoming. We'll get to my picks later in the week on the YouTube channel from the Hawkeye of the Storm. But what we want to discuss here before we get to our discussion with Filip Rebraca of Iowa Men's Hoops, I want to talk about the closed scrimmage that was held inside Kinnick Stadium this past Saturday. I've been given some interesting tidbits from that practice. I want to share some of those with you, the listener. First of all, as you well know, going to Kids Day events over the years or the spring practices, Iowa doesn't normally host a formal scrimmage. And that is kind of one of those things that I've been critical of because it does create buzz and excitement. You think about what a lot of these teams across the country, including even Nebraska, what they do, it does build some excitement. And I think even though Iowa fans are passionate, a lot of these fans showed up for Kids Day and for the open spring practice. I think having a black and gold game, so to speak, would be helpful, but that's Kirk Ferentz. He doesn't want to do that. And I think part of that may be just the perception to the general public by actually keeping track of score. Instead, fans can actually watch the drills and, they're able to watch some 7-on-7 and some real football action. So that was good to see during Kids Day. But the scrimmage this past Saturday was interesting. Iowa actually did suit up and play 2 full quarters of actual football. The ones on offense played against the 2s and the 3s on defense, and the ones on defense played against the 2s and the 3s on offense. It's sort of interesting how, I don't know if it was manufactured that way to build confidence for the ones or to just really provide a challenge for the depth on both sides of the ball. What I was told, the offense, the ones, got just 2 first downs all day. And again, they were going against the 2nd and 3rd string defense. I'll repeat that. According to one source, the offense, the ones, made just 2 first downs in 2 quarters of play against the 2s and the 3s on defense. Not a good day for the offense. Told that the kickers were great, 7 of 7 each once again. The kicking competition is tight, and it's a great thing that it's tight. Both these guys are pushing one another right now. Spencer Petras did not have a very good day. I'm sure you could probably gather that based on the fact that his offense just gained 2 first downs all day. Spencer throwing a pick. Also, Labus and Padilla throwing 3 picks against the first team defense. Gavin Williams reportedly lost a fumble, a lot of drops from the receivers, just a rough day overall for the offense. That's not going to make Iowa fans feel very confident heading into the last couple of weeks. But I will say this, the source that gave me this information made sure to clarify that this was an anomaly if you compare it to the rest of camp. It sounds like the offense has performed much better than it did on Saturday. And boy, it better, because that's, again, I mean, we're talking the ones going against the 2s and the 3s and not being able to move the ball. That's a concern. So I don't know how much you read into it. It is interesting information to have and to know. But overall, you take it with a grain of salt and you realize, again, it's just one practice, just like the Big Ten Network appearance, the visit to Iowa City by the Big Ten crew. Discussed that on the channel yesterday. You know, you can't read into things too severely, just like you can't read into what we saw at Kids Day. Unless you're there every day, you're not going to know. So none of us are really going to know until we see them on the field, not only in week 1, but through September, but especially as the competition ramps up in October. I will say this, I continue to hear really positive things about Caleb Johnson, despite the struggles on offense during that closed scrimmage on Saturday. Caleb Johnson continues to impress the coaching staff. I think he's going to play a lot. Noah Shannon, I just continue to hear stuff about him. I mentioned him after media day. Just seems, you know, when you hear about a guy over and over and over again, and this is over the course of many weeks, it tells you, hey, this guy stepped up his game. And I don't know how good Noah Shannon can be. I mean, he's not the biggest defensive tackle you're going to see, but I think he's going to be good, and I think he's going to wreak havoc on the interior. It's going to be a very difficult assignment to run block against Noah Shannon. You hope Y.A. Black. I heard that Y.A. Black performed well on Saturday. The entire defensive line performed really well on Saturday. I continue to hear great things about the confidence in depth at defensive line. Even Kirk Ferentz spoke with Gary Dolphin during a recent U of I podcast and made it sound very clear that he's more confident in the depth of this defensive line than maybe he has been in some time. Not saying you equate it to the Anthony Nelson, AJ Epinesa, Matt Nelson, Parker Hesse year, but it's certainly got an opportunity to be really, really good. How much can Aaron Graves grow during the season? Lucas Van Ness is still young. He's got the physical tools to be dominant. Can he get to that point this year? And you pair that with Y.A. Black and Noah Shannon, and then you have edge rushers and Deontay Craig and Joe Evans. I bought in hook, line, and sinker to this defensive line, folks. Am I bought into the offense? No, not completely. I think the run game is going to be better. Continue to talk about that. I will continue to talk about that on this channel in the coming days and weeks. I do think the run game will be a lot better. Injuries have been a problem. It sounds like still not healthy up front. They've had to kind of mix and match. Jennings Dunker, it sounds like he's really coming into his own. Will he lock down a spot at guard? That's a possibility. I think you've got some competition with Tyler Ellsbury at the other guard position. Michael Myslinski has been performing well, according to Kirk Ferentz, during that podcast with Gary Dolphin. So overall, yeah, one practice. It did not look good for the offense. Like I said, a lot of drops. Part of it is injuries. I don't know how involved Keegan Johnson was during this scrimmage. I'm not sure he actually competed in the scrimmage portion of the practice. That I don't know. But they're very thin there. And Brody Brecht has not really had a lot of time to grow with this offense. When he has been around football, he's been hurt. So there's room for growth. They've still got a couple of weeks. Camp is now officially done, actually, because now the other players who are not invited to camp have rejoined. You have game week starting next week. We'll get a depth chart here in the next few days. So interesting information. But I just wanted to share what I know from the closed scrimmage, that the offense really, really struggled. Not a real big surprise, but the defense is going to be really, really, really good. All right. Want to get to our discussion with Iowa forward Filip Rebraca. It's going to be interesting to see how Iowa manages 2 7-footers, one of which had entered the transfer portal, and Josh Agundale opted to come back, and the other being a guy who should have been in high school last year, should have been a senior in high school last year, reclassed up, and now has a year under his belt, relearned post defense. We talked to Riley Mulvey on a recent edition of the show. This week, we sit down with Iowa forward Filip Rebraca to talk about his development and the other guys on this team who will step up in the absence of top 5 draft pick Keegan Murray. All that and more during an exclusive sit-down with Filip Rebraca coming up from the Hawkeye of the Storm after this. You may have heard of the real-life Hawkeye man cave known as Kinnick under the kitchen. Well, after lots of hard work, there's not much space left to paint, but the walls are exploding out for public consumption. Under the Kitchen is proud to announce that you can now purchase exclusive prints of some of your favorite Hawkeye legends, including wrestling great Spencer Lee, football players Tyler Goodson, Riley Moss, and Drew Tate, plus an all-in-one Murray family legacy print featuring Keegan, Chris, and Kenyon Murray himself. Signed and unsigned prints are available, making the perfect collectible or gift for any Hawkeye enthusiast. For more information on purchasing one of these outstanding Hawkeye prints, visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook. That's Under the Kitchen on Facebook. Pleased to be joined now by Iowa forward Filip Rebraca. And I know a little over a year ago, Filip, when we first talked, I didn't even know how to pronounce your last name. So we've come a long ways. And certainly, as you can tell, many of our watchers, listeners can tell, you just got done with practice. So first of all, thank you for being here. Mm-hmm. You're probably thinking, why do I got to talk to this idiot right after practice? Let me go home and get some rest. But Phil, appreciate the time. How's your summer going, first of all?
It's been going well. I've been enjoying my summer, full of work, but also I got some time for myself and to see family and friends back home. So it's been busy, but I like it.
A lot of travel, and you are kind of like the traveling man. I mean, when we talked back in early 2021, I remember you telling me that you were born in Italy. You lived in, am I correct in saying you lived in Greece for a while?
Yeah.
You lived in Denver. You obviously lived in Serbia. You've lived in North Dakota with the bison up there in North Dakota. and now you're in Iowa.
The Fighting Hawks.
The Fighting Hawks, right?
Yeah,
I shouldn't say bison.
Yeah, I can't do the bison. That's like Iowa and Iowa State.
Yes, no, I shouldn't have said bison. I didn't mean North Dakota State, but you lived around the bison up in the state of North Dakota. So what's your time plan like in Iowa City now that you've had over a year to kind of acclimate yourself?
I mean, it's definitely been a process. You know, I always considered myself, like you said, a traveling man. You know, I felt like it was going to be an easy transition for me, but I feel like it was kind of a weird, tough year. You know, it was my first time in a long time moving away, meeting new people. I didn't have anyone around me that I really knew. So it was tough, but you know, I feel like I'm a lot more open this year, and it's been a lot better in the past few months.
I have to ask you about this, the weather change, because you've dealt with that as well. When you're moving all across the world, you're dealing with different climates. North Dakota has a somewhat different climate. I'm sure it gets warm up there in the summertime, but how do you like the humidity? We're recording this now in mid to late summer.
I don't mind it. I think Belgrade in Serbia is a lot more humid and a lot more hot. So I'm used to, I don't know what it is in Celsius, but like 35, 36 degrees Celsius is like a good day over there. So it gets pretty hot and humid over there. So this is not too bad for me.
I have to ask you about your dad. When we talked before, I remember you saying that your dad was doing well, but I know he had some health problems that he dealt with later in his career. How's he doing right now?
No health problems for a few years now, so he's been doing well. You know, he opened a basketball academy for younger kids, you know, and it's kind of different back in Serbia because it's only club basketball. So he opened this academy to teach kids about stuff outside of basketball, like how to handle situations with the police, how to eat properly, how to count like what you take in. You know, they teach kids all sorts of rules that they need in life, not just in basketball. So I think he's doing a little different thing there. And then also he became the president of the club that was his first pro club in the second biggest city in Serbia. So, I mean, he's officially stepping back into basketball after telling me when he retired, he was like, yeah, I'm never going to touch a basketball again. But it seems it's his destiny to be in the sport.
And you certainly have modeled some of your game after him. We were able to see quite a bit of toughness. And I thought about him. I certainly don't remember. I was too young to remember him playing. But the tape I've seen, he seemed like just a really tough guy. I mean, he's what you think of when you think of a, like, I don't know, it's what I think of when I think of a Serbian European international player in general. And you certainly had to deal with guys who were bigger last year at the Big Ten level. Was the learning curve for you more than you expected when you committed to Iowa?
I do think it was more than I expected, and I don't think I had, how do I say, I didn't have the best approach because, like I've said in like interviews before, my confidence took a hit, and I think that was the biggest issue to my game. And I feel like that is the biggest thing in most sports, just having confidence to be yourself. And so that's why my learning curve was a lot harder than I expected, because that's something that you never expect you would lose in a sport you've been doing this long. But, it happens to the best of us. So that's the biggest thing I've been working on all summer and looking to do forward.
Filip, what's your real height right now? Are you 6'9"?
I am 6'8.5" without shoes, 6'9.5" in shoes.
Okay. So have you grown at all since you've been here? I mean, I'm sure you're done growing at this point in your career.
I think I'm pretty much done growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think that's going to change in that department. Weight, I think, I'm bumping up. I'm trying to be at least 235 by the beginning of the season, which is, 5-pound increase from last year. Hopefully I can get that even more, but we'll see how it goes.
So tell me your role for 2022, because that's like the $1 million question that Iowa fans have about forward. And we talked when you committed about positionless basketball, and Fran doesn't like to focus on, okay, you're playing the 4, you're playing the 5. But my own evaluation, and you can tell me I'm flat out wrong, is I'd like to see you running with a true big, a true 5 at times, whether that be Josh or Riley, and get both of you on the court at the same time. So in other words, you'd be playing the 4 position at times. But is that what you expect your role to be in 2022, or how do you see things changing?
I think I'm going to have a lot larger role. I feel like we're going to have to step up, especially with the guys we have leaving, such as Jordan Bohannon and Keegan Murray. Those are 2 guys that we heavily relied on for scoring at times. So, us other guys are going to have to step up big in that department, and so I feel like I'm going to have a increase in that offensive role. Like I feel like I should have been better at last year. But like you said, it's whatever role that coach wants me to fit into. I've got some reps at the 4 this year already. This summer already. Not too much because, me and Chris play together. But it doesn't matter. I sometimes take the ball out and run to the top of the key, and sometimes Chris does that. So it's kind of reversible. So we'll see how it goes.
Could we see a lineup with Tony at the point, Patrick at the 2, either Peyton or Chris at the 3, Filip at the 4, and then a 7-footer at the 5? And you're talking about one of the biggest lineups in the country at that point.
that would be a pretty big lineup. We haven't tested that out so far, but I mean, who knows what we can pull out from our pockets to say.
Who's looking really good so far in practice, Filip?
I'm pretty impressed by pretty much all of like the returners. I mean, of course, the freshmen are doing well, but they're still learning. We haven't been going at it for long, and like we only have limited hours for team stuff. But I'm really impressed by our returners. Peyton's shooting the ball really well. Chris is taking that step that I've seen Keegan take last year. So, those are 2 guys that are doing really well. Tony's shooting the ball very well as well. So, everyone's taking a big step forward, I would say.
The freshmen, you brought up them, Desante Bowen, and certainly Josh Dix. I understand he's hopefully very progressing. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'm hoping that he's progressing well with the leg injury recovery. And then Amarion Nimmers. Who's the better dunker between Perkins and Nimmers?
I never saw Nimmers do like an extraordinary dunk live. So that's why I said Tony Perkins at like camp when kids asked me.
Yeah. But
apparently Nimmers can do some crazy stuff. So I just did not know that. So I guess Nimmers is because Tony Perkins said that as well.
I got to ask you, I know we're kind of jumping all over the map.
Yeah.
But I got to ask you about Keegan Murray. I mean, listen, it's summer league. I'm not going to jump to these conclusions. I think some people go way too fast. It's black or white.
Mhm.
I think we have to see it in real time, but I'm sure you have tremendous belief in Keegan's ability with the Kings. But what has impressed you so far about since his being drafted in the top 5 just a couple months ago? What's been your reaction to what he's done so far in Summer League?
Nothing's impressed me because that's what I'm used to him doing. Like, honestly, like, I know this guy can go get 20 every night. We've seen it here multiple times. We see him go for 30 or whatnot. So nothing has impressed me, but that's what I expect from him. That's the type of kid he is and type of player he is. Cause I know I think he's gonna dominate at whatever level he plays at. So I'm really happy for the guy, and I think he can improve even more.
Now, be honest. When you committed to Iowa, did you really think you were coming to a team that had a top 5 pick?
No, I did not expect that at all.
And
I didn't even know during the summer because I thought Keegan was good during the summer when we were playing open gym, but I was like, like this guy has a chance to get drafted, but I didn't expect him to be top 5, And then throughout the season, just seeing him gain confidence and play the way he played, and then I was like, at the end of the year, I was like, yeah, this guy is top 5. So yeah, by the end of the year, we all believed it.
I have to ask you too about we mentioned your role, and it sounds like you've been playing some at the 4, and certainly you got tons of experience last year at the 5 against the best big men in the country. Whether you're talking about the likes of a Kofi Coburn, Trevion Williams, Zach Edey, etc. But your ability to stretch the floor is something we didn't see as much. I feel like and I didn't watch a bunch of, I'll admit this, I didn't watch a bunch of North Dakota basketball when you were there. I'll just be the first to admit that.
I don't blame you.
But when I watched tape back of you at North Dakota, I saw you stretch the floor a bit more. So obviously playing the 5 maybe doesn't give you as much freedom, but what can you do? How has your jump shooting been going as far as work?
Well, that's what like I said, I don't think playing the 5 was anything that limited me in shooting. I think it was more the hit in my confidence that limited my shooting because I was like, I don't want to take a shot that I don't feel confident in because that's not good for your team. So that was kind of my own decision not to shoot it as much. And yeah, like I feel like that's the part I've been working on the most, confidence in shooting this summer. So I've been getting a lot of shots up, and even in practice when we play live and whatnot, open gyms, I'm just trying to shoot and make or miss, just gaining confidence just to let it go. And I feel like it's been going good so far.
Billy Taylor, Kirk Speraw departing this offseason. I know Billy was very instrumental in you coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying Kirk wasn't, but what has that been like? Did you expect that? I know Billy has been on the radar of some Division I programs for quite some time, but what was your reaction when you heard that Billy and then later Kirk were leaving?
I didn't expect it. I had a close relationship with Billy because he was the one that brought me in. So I didn't expect it. It was kind of tough, but then you have to realize it as an opportunity that you're going to get to meet more people, and he's chasing his dream as well. So I'm really happy for him. So yeah, I'll just wish him all the best. Elon, there we go. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, and then Kirk Speraw, he helped me with my confidence in shooting during this summer while he was here and towards the end of the year. So that he's played a key role in regaining that ability to say for me. So it's sad to see him depart, but it's well deserved.
Is there somebody on the staff, at least last year, that you would identify between Sherm and Coach Speraw and Billy Taylor, who worked primarily with the bigs?
Mostly Coach Taylor would work with the bigs. I would say we'd switch it up from time to time, but I would say most of the time we worked out with Coach Taylor.
And so that's my follow up then is, now that he's gone, who has taken that role? Obviously, you think of Courtney Eldridge being a point guard in college. Matt Gatens was a sharpshooter. Has Sherm Dillard stepped up in that role, or how have the coaching roles changed from your perspective?
We switch it up, but I would say we've done a lot of work with Coach C. So he is a point guard, yes, but that kind of gives us an insight of how we're supposed to where we're supposed to get the ball and whatnot. So, it's been good with him. We do a lot of pick and roll, how we're supposed to duck in, because he's the one that's supposed to be feeding us bigs or whatnot, the point guards. So it's been good, but we switch it up almost every day.
tell us about Matt Gatens, the coach, because I know about Matt Gatens, the player, and everything I know about Matt Gatens as a person and the conversations I've had with him. He's a class act guy. But just tell us about Matt Gatens, the coach.
I mean, he hasn't done too much coaching right now because he's still learning. So he even came up to me a few times and he's like, Philip, what is going on here? And I'm like, I thought you were the coach, man. But no, he's still learning. He gives me a few pointers and tips on things I should look out for. But he's kind of letting it come to him. So when he learns the system more and more, and then he can tell us how to do things better. But, he's even giving me a few tips on shooting as well. So he's very laid back for now, but, I feel like he's going to be a big part in all of our success.
Philip, how's your work going with classes? I know you're working towards a master's degree, I believe. How's that going?
It's going well. I still have one more year. Technically, a master's degree in finance is supposed to be 3 semesters long, but I did it for 4 semesters so I can do an easier load and, focus more on basketball, working out and whatnot. So I got one more full year of classes.
What's your favorite thing about Iowa City now that you've been there a while?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that I like. I like the food. I like Estella's.
Boy, Estella's is like I hate to put a free ad plug in for Estella's, but they seem to be like sponsoring the whole team now. You're putting plugs in for them.
They pretty much are. I don't know what it is, but I think it's because in Serbia we don't have Mexican food, and that's like authentic Mexican food. So I think that's really is.
I'm not going to. So since I just put a positive ad plug in for them, now I want to tell you that there is such thing as Pancheros. There is such thing as Chipotle.
I know. I mean, I tried them all, but I don't know why. But
better.
Yeah,
okay.
This is a plug for Estella, so they can thank us later.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I really like the people here as well. I said like my learning curve at Iowa City has kind of been rough. Confidence. I wasn't very social with people. I feel like I'm opening up more this year. So opening up, meeting new people. It's been pretty cool. So say the people are pretty nice and very helpful.
You'll have to ask the McCaffrey brothers to give you a chunk of that check from Estella's.
I'll have to. I know.
You'll have to. You're sharing the load. You mentioned just the challenges. This is a real question. You dealt with some negativity on social media during the season, and that's going to come regardless of who you are. You think about one of the more polarizing players in Iowa history, and his name is Jordan Bohannon, and yet he broke all kinds of records. So negativity is going to come as an Iowa basketball athlete. Mm-hmm. How did you deal with that? Because I'm going to venture to say, if you had a bad game at North Dakota, you're probably not going to hear whole lot about it. But at Iowa, you have one bad play. You're going to be scrutinized on Twitter and on social media. How did you deal with that negativity?
Kind of shutting it off. You got to understand that some of these people see the game differently on TV than it actually is in live. And of course, everyone's going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. I know that I made a mistake. If someone writes it on Twitter, I still made the mistake. It doesn't make it, I still understand that I did it, and then there's some times where people could blame you for something that you don't think you did wrong or whatnot. The matter of fact is, no disrespect to our fans or whatnot, but like, you got to see it like you are the basketball player. I'm here for a reason, and I got to see it as I'm a college player with probably a higher IQ than higher basketball IQ than most fans. So you can't take it to heart as well, even if they're wrong or right. So just kind of shutting it off, understanding that not everyone is in your shoes and sees the same things. So that's how I kind of dealt with it.
And I will say this, that there were times during the season where I thought you were the second best player on this team behind Keegan Murray. That's just my opinion. Now, what I thought was great about the team last year, Philip, was you guys shared that role. Sometimes it was Tony, sometimes it was you, sometimes it was Patrick. And I think with Keegan gone, I'm expecting to see more of that balance. I will ask you about the two 7-footers, or I guess they're both like 6'11", technically not 7-footers, but Josh Agundale and Riley Mulvey. I spoke with Riley earlier this summer, and he said that when he first got here, his post defense really was non-existent. Even though he was a good shot blocker at the high school level, he said that when he got to Iowa City, you and Josh scored on him almost every time down low. Like he just didn't know anything about post defense. So what does Riley look like? What does Josh look like? Give an update for our fans on development.
I think they look pretty good. Like Riley said last year, I think he maybe over exaggerated that we scored on him every time. He's probably being hard on himself, but which is a good and a bad thing, I guess. But I think he's much improved in that department. College basketball in the post is a lot different than high school. You can't block every shot. You're going to get fouls called. So you got to learn how to play with your hands up, how to stand your ground. And I think Riley has been doing a better job of that. Jelly, he's always been about standing his ground. So I think Jelly has been doing a fantastic job throughout last year and this year in that department. And just trying to install confidence in them as well, that they can score. They need to run the floor. Like I need to run the floor, and you'll get rewarded. So just installing confidence that we're just not screening dummies, and that we have a bigger role to play here.
And I do want to ask you too, we're wrapping this thing up. I want to ask you specifically about the NBA. So the international flavor of the NBA has increased exponentially in recent time. You think about guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Luka Doncic. We saw Doncic lead the Mavs to the Western Conference Finals this past year. And, of course, we saw Giannis win an NBA title recently. This is more of a fun question then. Give me your current international dream team. So it doesn't have to be just Europe. But I saw this on social media the other day. Somebody posted this, and I'm like, that's a great question. I'm going to ask one of Iowa's international players. Tell me your international dream team right now. 5 guys.
So 5 guys that are currently playing?
Currently playing.
Okay. 5, Jokic easily.
Okay, I was going to say Jokic is the obvious.
That one's got to be easy. 4, Giannis.
Okay.
Oof, now these 3 spots get a little hard because...
Oh, they don't? No, they don't.
1 is Luka.
Okay, thank you.
Then the 2 and 3, I don't know who do I take of the 2 and 3.
Dragic, maybe.
Dragic. I don't know. I'd rather take either one of the Bogdanoviches, either the Croatian one or the Serbian one at the 3 or 2 maybe, because both of them are snipers. So.
What about Ben Simmons? Isn't Ben Simmons Australian?
He is, but I can't fit him at the 3. I don't know if I could fit him at the 3. That's why. I mean, I hope he has a good year. Of course, I'm like one of those guys that are like, he's been bad or whatnot, but like hopefully just for his sake, he can be good. But man, this is a tough part at the 2 and 3 because I don't know who to put there because I feel like Europeans are very good at the point guard and then the bigs. And then
I was gonna say 10 years ago. Tony Parker would have been in the conversation at point.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's less. It seems like the majority of these guys who are coming in from Europe now are. It seems like the younger guys are forwards, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether we're talking about Giannis or Luka. Luka demands the ball, but he's 6'8", 6'7", 6'8". So, what about all time? Can you give me an all time starting list for international players?
I don't know if I can put Sabonis. I don't know if I can put Sabonis. Not talking about Sacramento Sabonis. I'm talking about the OG Sabonis in front of Jokic. Like in their primes, that probably. I mean, I don't know.
Jokic had more range, right?
Jokic had more range. He could shoot it better. Probably pass it better. But then Sabonis had better defense. So pick your poison between those two. I think Giannis, most dominant 4 man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Above all time. 1.
Well, you don't have to hold on a second. You can just give me your top 5 because you cannot leave Dirk Nowitzki off the list. Now, I'm biased because I'm a Mavs fan, but he's got to be on the list. So you going to put him at the 3?
I don't know. I mean,
wow.
This is very tough because I love Dirk Nowitzki, but the things I've seen Giannis do and
yeah, I get you.
That like I don't know. You saw me play last year, and I'm a lot about defense. Last year I was pretty much all about defense. And, Giannis's defense is just insane to me. So I don't know. I love Dirk Nowitzki, but like, man, the things that Giannis does on both ends, even though he's not the greatest shooter, like that's just mind-boggling to me. But I don't know. I could make a 12 for sure.
I know. Vlade. We're talking about Vlade Divac and
I'm putting my dad in front of Vlade though.
You put your dad in front of Vlade. Uh,
Yes, put him at that in front of
They
Bobby.
can be Matumbo. Yeah, you can just go down the list.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm biased there, but I think my dad was a lot better defender. And they're probably similar scores, except Vladi was a better passer.
And
But I know my dad was a better defender for sure.
And I know I'm missing a ton of guys. Good conversation, Philip. Last question for you. We talked about your role in 22, Connor, and certainly his brother. And we know the besides the freshmen, we know what to expect to some extent. But how will Iowa basketball, look somewhat different this year? Because there will be some new additions and guys will be developing. So how will it look different?
I think everyone's going to take a bigger role in contributing to wins, I guess. You know, we relied heavily on Keegan last year, and I feel like that role will be shared more this year, which is, you know, you can look at it two ways. We look at it in a positive way because it's not going to be as hard for one guy. Everyone's going to have great nights every night. And not everyone's going to be super tired at the end of the game. So I feel like we'll be able to maybe keep that going longer.
Filip Rebraca, Iowa forward/center. Philip, it's been a pleasure talking with you and catching up, and keep working hard. We expect to see some great hoops this fall. I'm sure we will. So appreciate the time, and we'll see you in Carver very soon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Always love talking with Iowa forward Filip Rebraca. You can tell he comes from humble roots, even though his dad was a very successful NBA basketball player for the Detroit Pistons. And it will be intriguing to see who steps up at the 5. I would love to see Filip Rebraca get significant minutes at the 4. I think he's a better shooter. As I talked about during that interview, I think he's a better shooter than he demonstrated last year. Now, he implied that it was because of confidence. It wasn't as a result of playing the 5. But I do think if you pair him with Mulvey or Ogundele, and I'm talking to Mulvey or Ogundele that's developed and ready to ground and pound down low, I think he's got an opportunity, Philip, to show off his outside game a bit more, stretch that floor. And, you know, he's only 6'8", 6'9", but I think you can look at a mini Twin Towers type of look because he does know how to play down low. Rebounding was a weakness last year during much of the season. That could easily become a strength if you're going Mulvey, Rebraca, or Ogundele, Rebraca. We know that Josh Ogundele is a physical guy. His problem has been health. I think weight, stamina, endurance. You hope he can figure that out. He did opt to come back, and Iowa took him back, which would indicate to me that Iowa believes he is taking the right steps, or he will be taking the right steps. It's now or never for a guy like Josh Ogundele, who's been here for 2 years. So again, thank you to Filip Rebraca. That was a pleasure to sit down and catch up with him and the Iowa men's basketball team. Appreciate you tuning in to another edition of the show. Please like and subscribe to this channel, to the podcast, wherever you're watching or listening here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. More Iowa football coverage, including a live show, live edition of Hawkeye Hangout this coming Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, with the one and only Tavian Banks right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.